Hello YouTubers, this is the noobifier. 3.10 has massive changes to the targeting system. This is the first time in a very long time that I've truly wanted to invest tens or even hundreds of hours into dogfighting to see where we are. After bashing through it, I feel comfortable making this very basic video so that I can more quickly bring you up to speed. I'm going to say that it's much more complicated than before. Not everyone will like it initially, some people are going to flat out hate it. As a disclaimer, I'm not an Evocati member. Therefore, what I present to you is as of last night when 3.10 dropped. I try to be completely accurate, but I'm only human. Please post your personal tricks and observations in the comments if you have them. We used to have simply lock and unlock. We could pin targets, we could tab through lists of enemy targets, friendly and all. We had reticle focus, which locked what was behind the aiming mark. Before we get too deep into it, from my testing, I do feel that head tracking frees up your hands and selects targets. This will allow you to do so without modifying the angle of your craft. This can be seen as both a great and bad direction. Great because you can exploit your fancy head tracking gear, but bad because new players might assume that they need to buy advanced gear or connect a webcam. To me, this new system is very manageable and I'm still learning it, but as I said, it'll likely seem overwhelming to a new player who wants nothing more than pew pew. So gone are the simple days of target nearest enemy, and gone are the days of quickly tabbing through complete lists of possible targets until you have the one that you want. I think the targeting system is slightly buggy because sometimes you get unwanted actions and there is a significant amount of desync, but it's PTU, so we bash on. Let's begin. You need to select a target before you can lock it, and then you can also categorize your selection with a pin system. I will not use head tracking for this guide, but if I was, the advantage would be here that I can look into the direction of the target and then select it, whereas without it, I need to aim the craft. You could cheat a bit with free look if you fly keyboard, but if you're flying with joystick, that's really messy and not really an option. Once you're looking at the target, which is now called selecting, you can lock the target with the command lock unlock selected target. That's in your bindings. This selects what you're looking at. By default, that is 1 on the keyboard. If a player attacks you and becomes red, then you can hit number 2, which is lock nearest attacker. This sounds like target nearest enemy from before, but it's not. This won't do anything unless they are actively targeting you. And if you rely on it solely, I think that better pilots are just going to get into the habit in the future of releasing your lock and then re-engaging you to take advantage of your weakness. This needs to be tested up in a follow-up video. As I said, that's number 2 by default. Number 3 is pin selected target. You have up to 3 slots for the pins. Number 4 will skip to the next pin, and number 5 will skip to the last pin. 0 will clear all pins. There are a pair of bindings called hostile select next and previous in view. That's important. There's a pair of bindings called friendly select next and previous in view, and there are a pair of bindings called all select next previous in view. These somewhat work like before. However, as the name states, the object that you want needs to be in your field of view, which is your entire screen radiating from the center. If you have an ultra-wide monitor, you can see more, and that might be seen as an advantage. But this is PC gaming, and we don't fight fair. How would I go about targeting in this new system? You look at the target that you want, you'll see it highlight by a broken square. Pressing 1 will lock it and start the targeting computer. Distance to target, your pips, your tracking, all of that stuff. If you press 3 instead, it'll pin the target for later. You can look at a second target and a third target and pin them in the same way. With 3 targets pinned, as I said, the 4 and 5 keys will skip between the 2. Don't freak out just yet, there is more, and it's fine. It's fine once you play a bit, especially if you have been flying for a very long time and entrenched in the previous system. This seems like so much more micromanagement for a single-seater fighter, especially in Arena Commander where you're blasting through targets quickly. It seems complex for nothing, but I don't think it's for nothing, but I do agree that it is complex. This will make much more sense with multi-crew ships with turrets. This will make much more sense when your co-pilot is operating in the capacity of your targeteer. It'll make more sense when you, your co-pilot, and your turret gunners are working together to track and deal with the targets based on their threat. For that example, I'm going to use a Carrack with 4 turret gunners, a pilot, and a co-pilot. The pilot and the co-pilot can manage the targets and then use the pin targets to call out focus for the turrets. And eventually, a very skilled turret crew can probably manage that by themselves. The reason I mention this now is to reinforce that this system isn't just complex for the sake of it. I've got more accustomed to all the extra steps, and although it took longer for me to get used to, it's fine. I believe that I've said it's fine several times so far. So, look, select, then pin or lock. Sounds simple. When you lock a target, your enemy will know that you're tracking them. I had thought about making a part 2 about what I'm going to discuss next in this video, however, that would add so much to the confusion, so please bear with me. There's another set of bindings that I didn't discover until later, perhaps 1 or 2 hours into testing, called Index. Index works like the radio from your car in 1982 when you push and hold to set the recall. Long press to set, tap to recall. Remember that. It can greatly speed up your workflow as it did for me. Index lets you directly force a selection into a pin slot, either 1, 2, or 3, quickly, and then recall it quickly. Look at the target and long press the binding for number 1. Look at the second target and long press the binding for number 2, and repeat for 3. If you tap binding 1, 2, or 3, you'll quickly switch between targets. Long pressing with nothing will clear the pin. Again, none of this seems initially necessary for Arena Commander in a small ship. I can see its use for multi-crew ship, and in the PU once server meshing is up and we have the player cap over 50. I'm far from done testing, but I'm done with this guide. Please suggest better ways that I can approach the subject or others that you'd like to be covered. I feel that patch 3.10 has returned me to noob status, but I am getting more competent the more I play. The learning frustration is also compounded by a different feeling ship. I need to test other ships, as I have seen from what others said that the Saber isn't currently the best choice. I hope this video helped more than it hurt. Thank you very much for spending your time with me. There are many topics like this that I'd like to cover with the patch, as flight and fighting are what interests me more. All of this is foundational for Squadron 42. Fly safe, and I'll see you in the verse.